Hey there, welcome to the Pine Cottage Book Club. Today is March 1st, and we will be discussing the book that we read in February and introducing our new book for March. If this is your first time here, this is a channel about reading, knitting, and simple living, and I just expanded my channel from a knitting channel to include books and to include more things about living a simple life, such as homemaking, baking, gardening, homemade remedies, herbal remedies, anything that encompasses living simply in a cottage life. This video today is our book club video. Every month I choose a book and we read it together, and then we discuss it on the first of the month, and then we introduce a new book for the following month. So if you joined us for February in reading Digital Minimalism by Newport, you are in the right place. We are going to chat about what we thought, and I'm going to let you know my reactions and things that I implemented this past month because of this book. This is also a video about being a Booktube newbie because I am new to the Booktube community. So if you are not a knitter and you're here for the books, let me introduce myself. Again, my name is Nicole. I live in Ohio in the United States, and I have been a reader my entire life. I have been following Booktube over the years, and I've struggled to find readers who are my age, who are interested in the same books that I'm interested in. There are a lot of young 20-something readers out there, which is fantastic, who are reading fantasy novels, young adult novels, romance, contemporary fiction, those kinds of things. And while I did have my moment many years ago with those, it's not something that stuck with me. I read mostly memoir, nonfiction, historical fiction, literary fiction. I enjoy short stories, whether they're memoir or fiction, and some thrillers occasionally, and classics. If that's your cup of tea, you are definitely in the right place. On Booktube, there is a newbie tag, so there are some questions that you answer when you're new to the Booktube community, so I just thought that I would answer those. I thought that would be a good way for you to get to know me and where I'm coming from. This channel started as a crochet channel many years ago, and when I learned how to knit, I quickly became more of a knitter than a crocheter. I still do crochet occasionally. I've always been a reader, but I didn't talk about it much on my channel. Occasionally I would recommend a book or say, oh, I'm reading this book, it's really good. But I think at that time, YouTube was more of a niche kind of thing where if you wanted to start a YouTube channel, it was recommended that you really niche down. I thought, well, I'm really into knitting right now. I'm just going to do that. And I would share little pieces of my life doing that, but I felt like there was so much more I wanted to share. And so I decided to branch out into the Booktube community as well, and also encompassing simple living, like I said before, because I am at an age where I'm not necessarily one who wants the constraints of these rules that I don't even know where they came from. And there are so many facets to me I want to share with you that I don't want to be confined by a niche anymore. That's kind of why I started this channel. Well, I think I just said that. It's more than just about reading. It's more than just about books. It's more than just about knitting or crochet or simple living. It's all of those things. It's kind of entering into a space where you can relax and feel like you can tap into those creative outlets, whatever they may be. I want this to be a place where we all come and share ideas and share what we're working on. I want it to be a calm space where we can just quietly chat about things. We can slow down. We can kind of step out of the rush of the world and just kind of be here and cozy. Reading is so much. Reading is getting to know friends that you didn't know you needed or didn't know that you wanted. Reading teaches you about the world. It teaches you about people. It helps you to understand where other people are coming from through their experiences, because we don't all experience life the same way. Reading teaches you about words and how to use them and how to use them well, and sometimes how to use them not so well. It's so many things. It's a way to escape the reality of your life if you want to. It's a way to wind down. It's a way to relax. It's a way to learn. It can be used for so many reasons. It can be done for entertainment. It can be done for pleasure. It can be done. It's everything. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't have a favorite color. I don't have a favorite movie. I don't have a favorite book. There are countless books out there, and I cannot choose one of them to be my favorite. I have a list of favorite authors and books that I will explore on this channel with you, but I do not have one favorite book. I would say as a child, the book that really got me into reading, there were a couple. One was poetry, and that's Shel Silverstein. Another one was Tuck Everlasting. That book really stuck with me as a kid. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, that was another one. Anne of Green Gables, of course. Alice in Wonderland, some of those classics. The Great Gatsby was one that really stuck with me. Lord of the Flies. There are so many books that just stick with you. I read A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens every year. I don't have a favorite. I just know the ones that really resonated with me over my lifetime. And there are others that continue to do the same. Abigail Thomas is an author who I feel like, even though she is in her 80s, I feel like we are kindred spirits as writers, and I will just reread her books over and over and over. I don't take this too seriously, to be honest. I've been doing this for fun for the last few years, and it will continue to be a fun, creative outlet for me. I'm a registered nurse. I have a job. I have a family. I'm a mom. I have work. So this is not work to me. This is something that I do for enjoyment, for a creative outlet once a week, and I don't consider it challenging. If anything's challenging about it, it's the technical process of editing software and uploading times. But just sitting and chatting with you is not challenging, and I don't anticipate it being challenging in the future. It's just something that I really love doing. I've been reading since I was 4 years old. I taught my daughter how to read when she was 4 years old, and it's just always been something that I loved doing. I read anywhere I can, mostly sitting in this chair behind me. Sometimes I read in bed, but if I'm reading at the end of the night, I'm not going to get far because I will fall asleep. I have a book with me in my bag everywhere I go. So if I'm waiting somewhere, I'm either knitting or I'm reading. Just anywhere, always. So I chatted a bit about that in the beginning. My favorite genre right now is memoir, because I really enjoy reading about other people's experiences in their life, knowing that it's true and it's from their heart and it's their perception of their reality. I did have a long span of my life where I only read fiction, and my bachelor's degree is in creative writing. So I did a lot of reading at that time, and a lot of it was fiction. I think that I just kind of leaned more towards memoir as I grew in my writing process, because I'm more of a creative nonfiction writer. I write poetry and creative nonfiction, so that tends to be what I read more. It's not to say that I don't enjoy fiction. I definitely do. I just don't read it as much as those genres. So here on this channel, when we do our book club, I try to switch it up every month. So I won't do two genres back to back. I try to mix it up and do, different things for different tastes. Not everybody has the same taste as me. I get that. Well, you can see it behind me. A lot of my book collection, though, on the bottom two shelves are reference books for my son. I homeschool my son. He is in fifth grade. So a lot of those are children's books, science books, history books, picture books about different subjects, and just fun things like that. And then the top three shelves are mine. So I have books on religion. I have nonfiction books about a lot of books about health and herbalism and like natural medicine. I have books about parenting. I have books about dyslexia. My son is dyslexic. And I have books about, any of my interests, gardening. And then the top shelf is all fiction. And I have a huge selection of memoir, short stories, literary fiction. I have some literary journals. So, yeah, and classics, of course. I do have a collection of classics. My library is always growing. This is just one wall right now. Eventually, I would like the books to encompass the whole room, so I have plenty of room to grow in this room. That is me. Thank you so much for being interested if you stuck around for me to answer all those questions. And now let's chat about our book that we read for February. So as I said, we read Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. And I've talked on this channel some about how I really strive to live a minimalist life. It does not come naturally to me to be a minimalist. I am naturally a hoarder of sorts. I do struggle with attention deficit disorder, and with that comes a lot of stuff. There's always stuff going on in my brain, and that translates into my home. So minimalism is a tool for me to help me stay organized and to stay on track. So I'm able to utilize those tools to keep my possessions scaled down, to make it easier to clean my home, to the products that I use, using less ingredients, more natural ingredients, less toxic ingredients, making some of my own things. The only aspect that I hadn't approached yet was the digital life that we lead, and that was something that I really needed to do. I'm someone who does not delete emails. I have thousands and thousands of emails. When you open my phone, that number like on the email is huge, and I just ignore it, like that's just kind of what my brain does. And I want to get to the point where I'm just more efficient about it. And also about other things, social media. How am I consuming social media and internet usage, screen time? I apply these restrictions to my kids, but sometimes not to myself. So this book was really an eye-opener for those kinds of things. And it challenges you to do certain things for 30 days and see what kind of difference you see in yourself. I went ahead and implemented some of those things. He kind of breaks this book down, in the chapters. Part 1 is about foundations. He talks about the digital declutter. Part 2 is about practices. So how am I going to implement this? Spend time alone. Don't click like. Reclaim leisure. Join the attention resistance. Digital declutter was a big one for me. I did some things on my phone to kind of dumb it down a little bit. I removed all social media apps from my phone with the exception of Instagram because I post on there frequently for this channel. But I imposed a 1-hour time limit on Instagram so that when my 1 hour was up for the day, I could no longer go on there. That was plenty of time for me to post the photo I needed to post, to comment and like other people that I follow on there, and to do what I needed to do. A lot of times, if you're scrolling through Instagram, you are getting distracted. You're watching all these reels that lead to other reels. You're purchasing things that are being advertised on there that you don't really need. So I found that when I imposed this 1-hour time limit, it really helped me to be more productive in the rest of my day. The other thing that I did, as I said, was take off my phone other social media like Facebook, those kinds of things. And I didn't really go on Facebook a whole lot anyway. I'm in some groups on there, so I didn't want to delete my account altogether, but I'm still contemplating that. The more I think about it, the more I think it's odd that we know so much about each other that maybe it's too much. Another thing that I did with my phone is I removed the internet browser. I can no longer scroll the internet and, when a question pops into my mind, oh, I wonder what this means, I can't Google it. I can't just go onto a website and shop. And this has helped me a lot because I'm an impulsive shopper. So not having that internet browser has really, number one, it's brought to mind and shown me how many times I pick up my phone to look something up, some random question, but also how many times I open my phone to shop. Removing that from my phone has been a big eye-opener. Other thing that I decided to do was to remove all of my forms of payment from Amazon so that it wasn't as easy to purchase something. And this was a recommendation from a coworker, so thank you, Stephanie. She recommended buying an Amazon gift card once a month, putting it on there, and then you can only spend what's on the card every month. So I implemented this as well, and my spending just on Amazon alone has gone down. This just makes me more aware of my habits, and like I said, it's very eye-opening to see how many times a day you actually pick up your phone when you really don't need to, especially that Instagram one. That 1 hour in the beginning came up really fast. Like it would be 11 o'clock in the morning and it would say, oh, your 1 hour time is up. And then you have the whole rest of the day. I'm like, wow, I really spent a lot of time on there. And as the month went on, sometimes I didn't even use the whole hour. You very quickly can retrain yourself not to be so dependent on your phone if you want to make that change. But it definitely shows you in the beginning how much you really do pick it up without even realizing it. The other thing that I really liked about this book is he talks about our brains and just what are humans created to be. And in this age of technology, I think there are many positive things about it. I mean, look at us here. We're having this conversation and we don't live in the same area and we're able to connect and have this community this way. But then there are negative things about it too. Always being on a screen, always being connected. There's so much that I gain from unplugging, especially when the weather is nice and we're camping or I'm working in the garden, just turning all of that off. Because of my ADD, I'm very sensitive to stimulation and being overstimulated. So like if two people are talking to me at the same time, or if the TV's on and somebody's watching something on their phone, it's very distracting to me, and it's a very negative feeling that I get. Being able just to turn everything off and have silence is very calming to me. It helps me to reset in my brain. And, Cal Newport talks about how, simply put, humans are not wired to be constantly wired. And I think that's so true because, well, at least it is for me, I think that we need time just to let our minds wander. I've gotten in the habit for the last year or two to have a podcast on in the car when I'm driving to and from work. And it used to be that I would just drive to and from work in silence and my mind would just wander. And that's when I got the best ideas. Sometimes my brain would go off and my imagination would go off and I would imagine these scenarios where, my loved ones were getting in car accidents and I'd be crying on the way to work. That's just where my brain went during certain times. But I think it's healthy to let our brains just go. Maybe we need that release for whatever reason. Maybe we have stress built up and we need to just let our brains decompress. And I have not been letting my brain do that by always having a distraction. While I'm cooking, I have a YouTube video going to watch. While I'm cleaning, I have something on in the background. It's so quiet in the house right now. It's just beautiful. My son's upstairs resting and it's nice. It's nice to hear nothing. And I think it's important that we just let our bodies have that silence and let our brains just wander where they're going to wander. It talks about teenagers and how they've lost the ability to process and make sense of their emotions, to reflect on who they are and what really matters, or to build strong relationships, or even to just allow their brains time to power down their critical social circuits, which are not meant to be used constantly, and to redirect that energy to other important cognitive housekeeping tasks. We shouldn't be surprised that these absences lead to malfunctions. And this hits home for me because my daughter is 13 and I also implemented some boundaries with her on screens. I already had some set up, but I was putting her downtime a little bit too late at night, and I moved it back to 7 p.m. After 7 p.m., she is not allowed to be on her phone, and it has made a huge difference. I think that, like I said, we implement these boundaries for our kids, but sometimes we don't do them for us, and I've been trying to live the same standard as I'm giving to them. And it's just been helpful for me. So I'm really curious to know, you guys who read this book in February, if you made any changes in your life over the last month, and how has that affected you? Or has it affected you? Has it affected you in a negative way? I know it might seem like counterintuitive that I'm talking about this and I'm posting it to social media, but I feel like if we use social media in a positive way, like to have conversations like this and to reflect, to improve the way that we live our life, if you feel like this is an improvement, then that's a positive thing. I'd love to hear if you made any changes over the last 30 days and what you thought of this book. This is definitely one that I will refer back to. I will read it again. Many of my books on minimalism or simple living are ones that I go back to. Also, I'm a plant-based eater, so those books I also read again. Because I find, like any human being, I drift. I'll go really strong on implementing these things, and then I will kind of get a little bit lazy, and I'll say, oh, I'm going to give myself 15 extra minutes on Instagram today, or I'm not going to put the time limit on today. I know that's coming. So when I find myself doing that more often down the road, I can go back to this again and get remotivated. Because I think that the lessons that he teaches in this book, for me, are very useful, and they're ones that I will continue to use. Let me know what you thought about this book. So I had a question that Debbie Todd asked. She said, okay, I just have to ask, how do you read 9 books in January, knit, make lotion toothpaste, sourdough bread, mother, go to a job, and put out multiple YouTube videos each month? You've cloned yourself, right? Because otherwise I feel incredibly inadequate. Love from Vancouver Island. Debbie. I just wanted to say thank you. I think that you are saying this as a compliment, but also, please do not compare yourself to anybody on social media. I don't show on here me reprimanding my kids or, having an awful day where I'm in tears because I'm just like overwhelmed by life, or, you know what I mean? Like, everybody has their struggles. I will tell you though that practicing minimalism and practicing slow living really does help me to prioritize the things that I want to do. Baking, doing these videos, reading multiple books, knitting, projects, putting out a video every week. These are things that I want to do. These are choices that I make. And because I'm choosing to do them, I make them a priority. And I'm able to make them a priority because I'm saying no to something else. If you're always saying yes to things that you don't really want to do, you're saying no to you time. You're saying no to those things that you might want to be doing at home. If you're someone who wants to be able to read more books or to have some more leisure time, then you might have to start saying no to some other obligations that you're saying yes to right now. How can I say this? For me, I really guard my time with my family. I am very protective of not only just my time with my family, but time with myself. I'm very protective of it. I'm very careful not to overschedule. I'm very careful to only let the kids participate in activity, like one activity at a time. They are not allowed to be in multiple things at once. We definitely prioritize our time with family. So we spend every Sunday with my parents when they're home. They snowbird during the winter, but Sundays when they're not home are still family days, and we set those apart. So the kids are not allowed to go to friends' houses or have friends over or do social things on Sundays. Sundays are days for family. So we say no to other things so that we can say yes to each other. I don't socialize with coworkers outside of work. I don't go to work parties. If it is my off day and there is a meeting, 9 times out of 10, I do not attend. My time at home is my time at home, and I'm very careful whenever I can to protect that time. So this kind of falls into the book. If you're saying yes to binge watching a show, or saying yes to scrolling aimlessly on your phone and watching reels, if that's something that you're choosing to do because you enjoy doing it, by all means do it. But if you're saying yes to that by doing those things and not really intentionally doing it, then you're saying no to the things that you would prefer to do. I'm just using that as an example because for me, that's a big time suck. But like there are people like my husband who that's his form of entertainment is to watch reels, you know, so it really depends on what you're into and what your interests are. But it just comes down to if you're saying yes to something that you really don't want to say yes to, then you're saying no to something that you could potentially be wanting to do and not being able to do it, because we're only able to do what we can do, right? Like there's only 24 hours in the day. There are only so many days in a year and only so many years in our lifetime. So if you're spending your time doing things that make you miserable or doing things that are taking away from something that brings you pleasure or joy or fulfillment or being able to be close to your family and nurturing relationships and community, then maybe it's time to reevaluate where you're setting priorities, right? And only you can answer that. Nobody else can answer that for you. I'm not perfect at it at all. It is definitely a challenge every single day to be intentional about my time. I screw up all the time. I sit down in front of YouTube and will binge watch knitting channels, Booktube channels, cleaning your house channels. Like I just go down deep dives, and that's part of my brain. Like I hyper focus on things, and then it's just a time suck, and everybody's like, Mom, you've been in front of the TV for hours. So I'm just as guilty as anyone else. But it is a constant struggle to say, no, I'm going to set these boundaries for myself, or no, I'm sorry, I can't make it to that dinner, or no, I'm sorry, I can't meet you for drinks, or whatever. And I know that I have drifted from my friendships over the years as my kids were small, and I was choosing to say yes to my young children and no to my friends during that time who, they may not have been in the same stage of life as me. Even still, I will always say no if I'm choosing to say yes for my kids. My number one job, my full-time job, is to be their mom. And so if this was taking time away from them or anything else that is going to take my attention away from raising those two human beings, then I'm going to say no to that. And I do that unapologetically because I feel like that is what I'm called to do. I don't ever want to look back and feel like I didn't give 110% because that is my main job. So I don't know, I'm kind of rambling, but I felt a little sad when I read that comment because I don't want anybody to ever think like I'm just bragging about all the things that I do and these are all the books that I read and this is everything that I've done, look at me. That's not what this channel is, not what I'm trying to do. I just want to share things that I've learned or things that I enjoy because I think that there are other people like you out there who enjoy the same things, and I'm just wanting to connect to others. And I know it's hard. It's hard to not compare in this technical world, especially, I would love to have a farm and a homestead and have acreage, and that's just probably not going to happen for me. So sometimes when you see people with these beautiful lives on social media, you think, oh, why can't I have that? And you start to compare. I start to compare. We all do. But I think when you reel that in and you realize all the blessings that you actually have and you make the best of what you have and you bloom where you're planted, right? Like how many times have we heard that? Then it shifts all of that and you think, oh wait, I do have time to plant a garden and to cultivate growing food in my own backyard and making things from scratch, baking bread, canning preserves and applesauce. And I can do all those things that those people do on their homestead right here in the suburbs, and I do. And when you shift that mindset, it just helps you to live a fuller life and a happier life, and to realize how much power you have over your own perspective. And it really does make a huge difference. I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that you took that in a positive way. I just really enjoy what I do here, and I enjoy sharing things with you, and I just don't ever want you to feel inadequate, because you're not. And I'm sure that you do amazing things every day with the ones that you love and for the ones you love and in your own life. So keep doing you. I'm going to keep doing me, and be proud of who you are. And I hope that answered that question. For March, we are going to be reading a fiction novel, and this is I would call it a historical fiction novel because it is based on true events. And this book is titled Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. I think this book is going to bring up a lot of good conversation about our history here in the United States, about our history as women, and our history as mothers, if you are a mother, or if you have a mother, if you know a mother. Just I think it's going to bring up some interesting conversation. I'm just going to read you the inside of the book jackets in case you are not familiar with this book. Montgomery, Alabama, 1973. Fresh out of nursing school, Sybil Townsend intends to make a difference, especially in her African American community. At the Montgomery Family Planning Clinic, she hopes to help women shape their destinies, to make their own choices for their lives and bodies. But when the first week on the job takes her down a dusty country road to a worn-down one-room cabin, Sybil is shocked to learn that her new patients, Erica and India, are children, just 11 and 13 years old. Neither of the Williams sisters has even kissed a boy, but they are poor and black, and for those handling the family's welfare benefits, that's reason enough to have the girls on birth control. As Sybil grapples with her role, she takes India, Erica, and their family into her heart, until one day she arrives at their door to learn the unthinkable has happened, and nothing will ever be the same for any of them. Decades later, with her daughter grown and a long career in her wake, Dr. Sybil Townsend is ready to retire, to find her peace, and to leave the past behind. But there are people and stories that refuse to be forgotten, that must not be forgotten, because history repeats what we don't remember. Inspired by true events and brimming with hope, Take My Hand is a stirring exploration of accountability and redemption. I think this is going to be a really good book. Probably a gut-wrenching book, but a good book. I want to take this opportunity to say that I think it's good to have conversations about things when they are true conversations. I don't think it's okay to be unkind to people because of their political beliefs or their religious beliefs or the way that they live their life. Everyone is entitled to give their opinion in a kind, constructive way. I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm not here to instruct you on anything. I am just another person, another human being living alongside of you. So I just really want to say that because I know in comment sections things can get really heated sometimes, and I just don't want this to be that kind of a place. I want everyone to feel welcome here, and I want everyone to feel safe enough to voice their opinion about something in a kind way without being attacked by someone else. I have very strong opinions about a lot of political things. We all do. But I'm not ever going to be on this channel saying, this is what I think, and it's right, and you should believe it, and if you don't, you're wrong. You're not going to find that here. And I just wanted to put a little statement out because I just think it's important to treat everyone with kindness and understanding. I don't know what you've been through in your life. You don't know what I've been through in my life. And books like this can either bring beauty out in people or they can bring ugliness out in people. And so I just want everyone to know that here we're going to try to find the beauty in everyone. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I hope that you'll join me in reading this book. I'm excited to read it and to talk about it next month. I will be posting again on April 1st to talk about this and to introduce the book for April. So I hope you'll join me. I hope you enjoy the book. Please let me know what you thought of digital minimalism, and I will see you next week. Next week, I will be posting a video on all the books that I read in February. So if you are here just for the books, you're going to want to join me next Wednesday. If you're here for the knitting and not for the books, then you will want to join me the week after that. The Wednesday after that will be a knitting video. If you're here for both, I'll see you next week and the week after. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.